I'm going to be calling this series Masters of Reality, which is inspired by a series that a great reviewer I know named Ralph Baera does. You guys should definitely check out his channel. He does awesome reviews that he calls the Eternal Idols series, which is kind of what this series is going to be. I'll be covering in order of the day the year they came out, in sequential order of the bands of Rainbow, Dio, Ozzy, and Black fucking Sabbath! So Black fucking Sabbath is a very interesting album. It is the first metal album of all time, and this came out in 1970. So in the 1970s and late 60s, hippie music was huge all over the world. It was all peace and love except for the war going on. But in the dark depths of the war-torn Birmingham, England, Tony Iommi, who was a great guitarist, had his fingertips cut off in a metal cutting machine, which restricted his playing. He had to take bottle caps to his fingers, which were very painful to bend the guitar strings. So what he did to make up for this is he down-tuned his guitar to this very heavy and murky sound. And he found a couple buddies in Birmingham named Bill Ward, who would play drums, and Geezer Butler, who would play bass. And they used to pick on a person named John Osborne in their class. And they answered a call from a singer to form a band with him, and the tagline of the call was Ozzy Zig needs gig, and they had no clue it was John Osborne. But when they met him, everything clicked, and they formed the first fucking metal band of all time. Now, the band wasn't called Black Sabbath at first, it was called Earth, and I believe for a time Tony Iommi even left to go play with Jethro Tull for a while, but it just didn't work out. So the band went with an awesome bluesy direction. But when they were playing live, someone informed them that the band name Earth had already been taken, so they needed a band name change. And the group of them were into dark stories and black magic. Ozzy even bought the Satanic Bible and evil magic spell books and stuff. And one night, Geezer Butler awoke from a terrible nightmare to see a dark figure standing at the edge of his bed. He frighteningly told the story to Ozzy and the rest of the band, and in an instant strike of brilliance, he wrote the lyrics to what many hail to be the greatest metal song of all time. But it wasn't just his nightmare, or Ozzy's lyrics. Iommi utilized this ancient medieval rhythm known as the tritone, which is a 3-note interval that was banned in medieval times for summoning the devil. They named the song Black Sabbath, which they saw from a horror movie. The song had this very doomy, evil sound to it. They decided to play the song live, and it scared the hell out of everyone, and it instantly let them know the direction they wanted to go. They said, let's scare everybody. And they made the most evil song and most evil music of all time that would evolve into many other genres, even more evil than Black Sabbath, but they were the original. They were the first heavy metal band of all time. With this epic song under their belt, they decided to change their name to Black Sabbath and their direction to this very dark, murky idea that they had with this song. And recorded in a single day, Black fucking Sabbath is a masterpiece of metal. The artwork shows this random creepy person that the band doesn't even remember who it was, and they took a photo of her standing in front of this farmhouse. It is a very iconic and awesome looking artwork, and it screams evil. And this evil amalgam formed the first heavy metal album of all time. Every single member of Black Sabbath is incredible. You have Tony Iommi, who is considered the master of the riff. He invents so many awesome, unique riffs that everyone would be inspired from. Heavy, dark riffs that are all tasty and unique. And his solos are really bluesy, but they're very important. He and Jimmy Page's guitar solos would be instrumental to the way every metal guitarist would solo from that point on. Then we get to Bill Ward, which is probably one of my favorite drummers of all time. His drumming's freaking tasty too. It's all over the place, but yet follows a good rhythm. I'd argue his cymbals are a little too loud and you can barely hear his single bass drum kick. Even though his drumming is restricted because he doesn't have too many parts of the set. He utilizes everything he can, and he sounds like a freaking monster on the drums. Then we get to Geezer Butler, who's a badass bassist, and he really shines throughout this album, especially on songs like NIB. Ozzy Osbourne, a monster vocalist. He sounds very deep and doomy on this album. This album, by the way, is considered not only the first metal album, but the first doom metal album. His vocals are deep and frightening, but would go on to become more high-pitched and cutthroat later on in their career. Now, an interesting thing I want to bring up is that I noticed recently with like iTunes or Spotify, for some reason they're fusing a lot of the tracks like NIB and Behind the Wall of Sleep, and then splitting up other parts like Basically and stuff. And also, there's a different track on the European version than the American version. The European version has for track 5 Evil Woman, and on the American version they have Wicked World instead of Evil Woman. Now let's get to the first track, first metal song of all time, Black fucking Sabbath! This song begins with rain. It really builds up this horrifying atmosphere, this almost horror movie type of sound to it. Then we kick in with this heavy, doomy driving rhythm with Geezer Butler and Bill Ward and Tony Iommi doing the creepy tritone, and then everything kind of dies down in this more empty, almost voidy type of feel, as you can still hear the tritone, and then you hear Ozzy deliver those almost satanic lyrics. And then we get to this interesting second half of the song where all of a sudden you go into this, what I describe as the very first heavy metal middle section breakdown. All of a sudden we get into this more heavy, fast driving rhythm that's a little bit more upbeat. We get some nice bass drum and cymbal smashing here and there. And this is probably my favorite section of the song, even though the tritone section is great and dark. This section feels like a freaking awesome heavy metal song that you'd hear in like the 80s. And then we get into the awesome solo where the cymbal smashing is off the roof insane. And it's not annoying, it's just so heavy, it's badass. And the guitar solo from Iommi and the crazy wavy riffs he does are absolutely iconic and insane at the end of the song. Black Sabbath is incredible, a 5 out of 5. An interesting thing also is that the classic Iommi SG that he would use throughout the entire 70s in their career and stuff, his SG feel, did not happen until he had to use it because he was going to use a Stratocaster to record this album, but he kept having problems and used his SG and it became iconic from that point on. Then we get to a really interesting song, The Wizard, which is probably one of my favorites off the album. I do like it a little bit more than Black Sabbath nowadays. This song begins with this really cool harmonica thing that Ozzy does, and it goes throughout the song. It has a lot of bluesy stuff to it, but to me it sounds like a metal song. They somehow found out how to take the blues and make it even heavier than it already was. The riffs are really classic and catchy as hell, and the fusion with the guitar riff, the bass, the drums, and the harmonica sound so great together. They're all interwebbing together perfectly for the song. Then we get into the heavy verse part that is so damn heavy metal sounding, and I believe the song's actually about Lord of the Rings and Gandalf. It's like every classic rock band like Rush and Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, they all really like Lord of the Rings. And the drumming from Bill Ward is all over the place in the song. It really makes this song, for like a progressive listener, really tasty. If they're all into Neil Peart, it's like, damn, he must have like inspired Neil Peart. And the soloing and other sections of this song are also really great. Overall, Wizard is a incredible song, probably my favorite so far. Perfect, 5 out of 5. Then we get to a somewhat weaker song. This one's definitely a lot more bluesy. Now there's a lot of true heavy metal songs in this album. I'd say about maybe half the album, like possibly 3 songs, are true heavy metal. This one kind of rides the line between either a blues song or a heavy metal song. It definitely has this cool heavy riff, but there's a lot of bluesy elements to it, especially the way Ozzy sings in the slow verses. It's this very, very bluesy sound to it, not really harsh and heavy like the other 2 songs. A lot of people say Led Zeppelin, they were the first metal. No, I'd say Black Sabbath because they were divided, sort of. Like, it sounded very heavy and bluesy, but not quite metal. I'd say they were hard rock, for sure. But Black Sabbath were able to expand into metal. So Behind the Wall of Sleep for me is a 4 out of 5. It's a good song, nothing too great though. The next song, which opens with what people now call Basically, they cut that from the intro and now it's called Basically, which is kind of funny because it's a really cool bass solo that Geezer does. And then all of a sudden, we cut into this insane wah pedal-esque bass riff. One of the most iconic iconic Black Sabbath riffs of all time, and it was played on the frickin' bass. And as the song goes out, I can't, with some metal, you can hear the guitars way more than the bass. It's kind of hard to hear the bass, and it's more interesting to hear the guitars. It's the other way around in this song. The bass dominates it. The lyrics are very interesting. They say the song's about Bill Ward's beard or something, which doesn't make any sense. The lyrics, I believe, have to do with Satan falling in love and not wanting to be evil anymore. Kind of interesting concept. And there's a lot of cool progressive almost stops and breakdowns and all over the place in the song. Somewhat bluesy, but like I said, going a little bit into that metal. The song's very heavy, and I love the awesome middle part, which is used a lot on songs in Paranoid, like Iron Man, War Pigs, like solo sections. NIB was kind of the idea that they would use for like the way they'd structure a Black Sabbath song. NIB is by far my favorite song from the album. That kick-ass riff, that awesome solo, the really creative ideas in the lyrics, and overall the incredible performance from every single member. NIB is also one of my favorite bass songs of all time, and it is one of my favorite Black Sabbath songs, easily. 5 out of 5. Then we get to one of the weaker songs of the album. On the European version, it is Evil Woman. It is a cover, a blues cover, and it's not that good. It's definitely catchy. I do kind of like the fun-loving chorus. They could definitely play it live, and I believe they have played it live, and I'm pretty sure this is probably one of the earliest songs they ever did, because they mostly did blues covers before writing this great material. So Evil Woman's okay, 3 out of 5. Then we get to the American version track, which I definitely think is a little bit better. It's an original song. Once again, it's kind of riding that fine line between blues and heavy metal. Evil Woman definitely was blues because it was a blues cover. They tried to make it a little bit heavier, but it still sounded extremely blues. But here we go. This song is a lot like Behind the Wall of Sleep, with this cool heaviness, these great different riffs that are really intriguing. But my problem with the song that brings it down a little bit, even though the lyrics are cool, but for some reason, because I believe this was recorded afterwards or maybe before the 24-hour session that they did for this whole album, Ozzy's vocals sound really, really bizarre, and I don't like the fact they put on them. So overall, 4 out of 5. Pretty damn good song, though. Then we get to Sleeping Village. I love the intro to this one. I can't remember what the intro's called. It's this really, really murky, light guitar intro, and they have that weird instrument, I can't remember the name of it, where it's like you blow into it and it makes this weird, like, oi, oi, oi sound. And I believe they also have that on the intro to Call of Cthulhu by Metallica. And then we cut into this really cool instrumental. I do like it, but there's some parts of it that kind of slow down and don't really do anything. They go from a really heavy, cool sounding song to a kind of dull blues sections. It's sort of unreliable in a way, but overall the song's pretty good, especially with that great intro. I always love just that like half a minute intro, and the rest of the song's pretty good instrumental, so 4 out of 5. Now The Warning. Very, very interesting song. Sleeping Village bleeds into this one, this 8-minute blues epic, but I wouldn't describe it as an epic. I'd say it's more like a almost Led Zeppelin song where they would just go on and on and on and on, where the main parts sound really cool. I do like the main parts of Warning. It's mostly just a bluesy song with some heavy riffs here and there. Then we get about a third of the way through, when they get to the middle parts. We get some cool middle parts and everything. The band's working together well. And then it starts slowing down. It gets really, really boring. And then all of a sudden, it almost seems like the rest of the band, except Tony Iommi, left and like, oh, let's go get a bit of smoke, And they all did that. And he's just like, oh shit. And so he just starts fucking around the guitar forever. And then they walk in, they're like, oh shit, we're still doing the song, kick in or whatever. So the song's long as fuck. It's pointlessly long, and I don't like that. They could have cut the song in half, really. They could have had The Warning be this cool, catchy, bluesy song. I don't think metal was ready for longer songs yet. They were just thinking of ideas like, let's just go on monotonously forever with these solos that go nowhere. So The Warning has its good parts, has some bad parts. It's almost a bad song for that, but like I said, it has a lot of good parts. Overall, I'd definitely skip the parts where he's going on and on with the solo, so 3 out of 5, it's okay. Black Sabbath, this classic, epic, amazing album, is an 8.8 out of 10. It gets a bonus for inventing metal itself. A lot of people say Led Zeppelin or In a Gada Vida or whatever the fuck. But no, fuck you, it's Black Sabbath.